Hello everyone! I come to you today with a question and a debate that the fandom has raged on about forever. Why do female Transformers exist? It's a question that the fandom has asked for almost the entire length of the franchise. Why does Arcee exist if Transformers don't reproduce biologically? I've heard a lot of arguments over this, and everyone seems to have their own form of logic. Me, personally, I tend to think of it as just two different formats, like an iPhone or a Galaxy. Same device, just same functions, each built to handle things better a little bit here and there. iOS or Android, male robot or female robot. I think it's that simple, but some want to break it down and really examine it. So let's do that, and we'll see just how many of these arguments there are. There's a lot, but we're going to cover some of the major ones here. Fair warning, we're going to be getting into a lot of gender topics in this video, Transformer and otherwise, so feel free to turn back if you're not too comfortable with that topic. So before we really begin, yes, there's a real-world answer to why gender inequality is here. When Transformers were first created, Bob Budiansky, the one who created the original names and personas of these characters, asked Hasbro if any of the toys he was making characters for were female. Hasbro's answer was basically, this is a boys' toy line. We don't want girls in it. Meaning the reason most Transformers are male come from a marketing decision, a sexist one at that. So if you really want to hang on to this notion that Transformers should all be male when the idea originated from such a misogynistic viewpoint, maybe rethink that position. But to the actual meat of the discussion here, we'll start with the introduction of females in Transformers and where they're at today. So in the G1 comic book, Simon Furman felt no need for a female as they were robots and thus genderless. The only reason Arcee existed was due to a group of angry feminists demanding the Autobots have gender equality. And they got angry when she was designed to look feminine. And then they got angry when Hot Rod hit on her. It was tasteless as a way of introducing a character despite Arcee forcing back a Decepticon attack solo. Lamp shading it does not make it okay. By the way, if you are aware that what you're doing has misogynistic connotation to it, it's not okay to point that out and go, I know what I'm doing. You're still doing it. And somehow, despite all of this is only Simon's second most offensive Arcee introduction. Yeah, he doesn't write women all that well. Though to his credit, he kind of admits that now, and even stated he liked what was done with female Transformers in the latter IDW 1.0 books. Now, later in IDW, Simon was given a second chance at introducing Arcee, and this time, she was forcibly changed to a female by Geoxus as an experiment to introduce gender to their race, and becoming female made Arcee insane. We don't let Uncle Simon write anymore. He did. Now, later on, things were retconned to show that other Transformer colonies from other worlds did have female Transformers, and they had left for those other worlds long ago. Arcee was also retconned so that she volunteered for the experiment, as she never felt right in her male chassis, which isn't much of a fix, but they had to do something. Still, the second introduction to females in IDW just made them a natural part of the species with no explanation needed. In the G1 cartoon, there's no actual explanation either, but you know what? I think I can figure one out pretty easily. See, female Transformers are just a thing in that universe. They are rare, but they do exist, and for some reason there are no female Decepticons. I think I know why. Autobots were originally consumer goods produced by the Quintessons, which would likely make female robots for customers who preferred a maid to a butler. It's likely a feminine model for such things was preferred, thus more left Cybertron than the masculine robots. Decepticons were military hardware, so in that sense there was no need for a female model, thus female Decepticons didn't exist in the cartoon's original canon. But if this makes sense, why are there only two genders? because the Quints are making consumer goods for the entire galaxy. All the different alien life forms out there, shouldn't there be like a dozen different gender options for all these different species? Where is my ancient Autobot that looks like a Skuxoid? I'm just saying. Even in the 86 movie, when we finally got Arcee as a regular member of the cast, Hasbro and Sunbow fought against her inclusion. The writers of the movie insisted because his daughter had nobody in the franchise to identify with, and that wasn't fair to the other girls who may like Transformers despite it being designed for boys only. So credit to the writer for sticking to his guns, otherwise we may not have any female Transformers around. Elsewhere, gender had a funny way of dancing around the franchise. In the mid-90s, Takara wanted fewer girls on the toy shelf, so Airazor was turned to a male. Meanwhile, in the mid-2000s, Hasbro wanted more females on the toy shelves, so Override became a girl. Let's see, that takes us to the movie, where we also got things like the Arcee triplets, and Shatter, excuse me. And there was no explanation for any of it. They didn't feel that they needed one. Transformers treated their female colleagues just like their male ones, and nobody went, wow, I thought you went extinct, because that's what Shockwave did in G1. Today, there is a much bigger push, in the comics especially, to create more female Transformers to even the odds a bit, or make up for lost time, as it were. The sad part is that females are being introduced again as a marketing move, as collectors ask for more female representation, and Hasbro sees a market in female collectors, just as they gained male collectors for My Little Pony. But it's progress, even if it's driven by capitalist goals. But despite how natural their inclusion is to the actual Transformers in these fictions, fans still ask, why? So, the first one. Transformers don't need gender because they don't reproduce sexually. Right? Okay, that seems obvious enough. The thing is, even things that don't reproduce sexually do have gender to them. Do you know what a marble crayfish is? It's an animal that reproduces entirely asexually, which is to say they don't need a male to lay eggs that hatch. The result is every marble crayfish is female, but that does mean they still have gender to them, even as a species of only one gender. And that's not the only example, by the way. There are animals on Earth with gender that don't have to reproduce sexually. It's a weird thing that nature does once in a while, but it is possible. That just means that Transformers are a species that has gender but no sexual reproduction necessary. And when you know your biology, that's not really that much of a step further than what we have on Earth. I mean, except for, they don't give birth to their young in any way, granted, but reproduction is reproduction. Remember, these are living alien robots, and how life works for them is not going to be a one-to-one of how life works for us. It's just not possible. Even in our own species, scientists aren't 100% sure why we develop as two genders. We have theories at best. And that doesn't even get into things like the SRY gene that, depending on its behavior, can give you a physical gender but a different chromosomal gender. Are you confused yet? That's the point. Gender is not a black and white gray, thing. There's gray area. There's a spectrum of it. And just as true of Transformers. Not understanding why is not proof that it shouldn't be. Let's try another angle. Transformers have no gender because they are robots. Never mind the fact we gender robots and machines here on Earth all the time. This one's actually pretty easy to punch a hole in, though. In both the first episode of the original cartoon and the first issue of the comic book, Transformers use masculine pronouns. Wheeljack was the first one in the cartoon, Sunstreaker is the first in the comic, both before having any human interaction. So it's not a practice or terminology they picked up from us. They gender each other, so they have gender. It may only be one, but they obviously have the concept. Otherwise, we would see neutral pronouns only. Now, it is easy to chalk it up as the writers just not understanding that practice at the time. It's the 80s, very likely. But also, it might just be them writing without thinking about it. But what they printed in the book is how it stands. It has to be. It's canon now. Transformers were he. Thus, the concept of she has to exist somewhere. They might be a result of contact with another alien race that has male and female genders, but even then, that means Transformers decided on their own what their pronouns and gender identities would be, which is what a lot of people on this planet are doing right now. So if that was the case and you respect that choice, then respect that some Transformers are going to assign themselves as female regardless of their origins. See, let's also accept the fact that the entire point of Transformers is how they adapt. They literally change their bodies to fit their situations, and nothing says it has to be just about how they disguise themselves on other planets. In IDW, we have Anode and Lug, two characters I really like, who were originally built in male bodies. They only realized why that felt wrong when they encountered Transformers from other colonies who were female, and other races like humans that had females. So they made the switch. They're transgender Transformers. That's a thing now. And that makes total sense for an alien race that can change shape at will to be completely fine with changing body shape. But some don't even bother with that. We've got Howlback, a blue version of Ravage, who in one fiction at least identifies female despite the body she was built in. And again, that's completely valid. In a race with no gender requirements, it would make sense that the Spark knows its gender identity despite the body built for it. Humans kind of work the same way, even if some don't like to believe that. Here's an easier one. It's how some animals on this planet work. There's frogs that can change gender, clownfish that are all born male, and then the dominant in a group will become female. It's funny that life works that way, but it is how life works. So why can't robotic shape-changing life change the shape they feel is right to them? And as I said at the top, every argument about gender in Transformers is dumb. I put it in the title. And guess what? That includes this one. Listen to me. I'm bringing up hypothetical alien races with 12 genders and talking about crayfish just to make a point. And that point is, it's all stupid. The entire argument is stupid. This is a fictional race of giant alien robots who shape change into Corvettes, and the part where you get lost is some of them are feminine? That's what breaks the suspension of disbelief. It doesn't matter why they have male and female robots. In the end, the only reason is so that the stories that we get to read and watch and the relationships that we see between them are more relatable to the ones we know, so that we can identify with these fictional characters that they are creating. If you really think they should only be male Transformers, please tell that to a female Transformer fan who's waited a long time for a girl that wasn't as stereotypically driven as Arcee to come around, who's literally a robotic version of Princess Leia, according to Floro Derry, who designed her. Tell it to the parents who can't explain to their daughter why the cartoon she likes has no girls in it. Or just accept that some Transformers are female regardless of biological needs. Because who are we to argue the biology of robotic alien races? The only one who has it all figured out, Cyberverse Acid Storm. They go from male body to female body whenever they want. Granted, it's due to an animation error, but even in presentation, packaging says that the character is male, but the voice actor for the character is female. So it's all accidentally on brand, isn't it? So to retcon it into a gender fluid character makes total sense, and it's the example that proves the point. Doesn't matter in the end. They can be whatever gender they feel like. It doesn't change who they are, and we have no right to question it because it's their choice, not ours. Just like humans. I doubt I settled any debates with this particular rant, but if you made it this far, thank you for following along on this long-winded explanation. In the end, don't get hung up on it. And if you see someone arguing it, just move along. You're not going to change their mind. It's just what it is. In my opinion, there is no explanation, and there doesn't need to be one. Transformers are who they want to be, who they present themselves to be, and there is absolutely no reason to question that, and no reason to have a problem with that. So, hopefully, someone out there gained something from all of this. I hope you did. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.